I know now more than ever, you're all looking to do everything you can to make sure you have the strongest immunity possible. And as we approach cold and flu season, I always tell my kids, preparation is the key to success. That's why today I've brought together some of the biggest names in medicine to share their immune boosting secrets with you, so you can be ahead of the problems before they start. Together, we're going to be building you the essential immunity boosting kit to get you through the winter. Joining us with the very first item in our immunity kit is emergency medicine Dr. Samson Davis. Before we get into the kit, since you're on the front lines, what kinds of problems are you expecting this winter?
So I think flu is going to make a huge comeback this year. Last year, because of COVID, we had a lot of people at home, a really low incident flu season. But this year, we're going to see flu, I think. We're going to see COVID, of course, and common colds are going to be present.
All right, so our first item in our immunity boosting kit is 1,200 international units of vitamin D. Why vitamin D, and why are so many people not taking it? We've been talking about it since the day the show started. I especially got loud about vitamin D when COVID hit our shores.
Right.
But most Americans still seem to be insufficient.
Yeah, we get natural vitamin D through sunlight. And believe it or not, nearly half Americans don't have an adequate supply or adequate amount of vitamin D. And especially with COVID, that numbers of Americans have decreased. And we found a correlation with those who had COVID or were at risk with COVID and had a low vitamin D level versus those who had a normal or higher vitamin D level. Vitamin D is a natural sort of immunosupporter and helps to decrease inflammation. And so I like to take just one pill a day. One pill of vitamin D a day is enough to sort of balance your vitamin D levels.
Well, USANA is our trusted sponsorship partner, and they have very high quality control, which is why that's a product we talked about. But if you don't want to take a pill, what other sources of vitamin D are there from food?
So food is pretty tough because it's like the bioavailability, meaning the way that you naturally absorb vitamin D through food is not that great. But we do have mushrooms. Now, mushrooms in of itself is a great sort of food base for vitamin D levels. And the good things about vitamin D is that with mushrooms, the more exposure it has to the sun, the better it is.
Yeah. Actually, it's interesting, although you grow them in the dark, obviously, but there's a really cool insight. The vitamin D in the mushrooms you buy at the grocery store can be augmented if you slice the mushrooms up to provide more surface area and then expose them to the sun with their gills up. With this, the gills over here should be exposed. And interestingly, one scientist found that mushrooms placed in sunlight could increase the amount of vitamin D by 500 times. I don't know why I didn't know this before, but I think it's pretty cool. So I'm going to put this vitamin D in our kit, and off we go. Dr. Davis, thanks very much. Next up, gastroenterologist and author of What's the Yuck, Dr. Roshini Raj. What role does our gut play in immunity?
So, this is why I love being a gastroenterologist, because I feel like everything in the body starts in the gut. And in your immune system also, 70% of our immune system actually resides in our gut. In the lining of our gut wall, there are immune cells, and they play a very important role.
So our next immunity item in the kit is going to be a probiotic, if you can hand that to me.
Sure.
The reason probiotics are so important is critical. First off, we need them in our gut, as you point out, but they also are valuable for building immunity. And that connection is not clear to most people.
Yeah, so actually probiotics can help your immunity in a couple different ways. Number one, probiotics help strengthen the lining of your intestine. And so they make that barrier very strong and not porous. And that means it's not easy for things to leak into your bloodstream and trigger inflammation. So that's one way. They also, again, because they're fostering a healthy intestine, they allow those immune cells that live in your intestine to really thrive and to grow. And the other thing is we always, at any given time, have some good bacteria and some bad bacteria in our gut. If you have enough of the healthy good bacteria, which is what the probiotics help you do, then you're not going to have an overgrowth of that unhealthy bacteria, which again can cause infection or inflammation.
So what do you look for in a probiotic so that you actually have the right amount of those good bacteria you speak to?
So you want to look at what's called CFUs, or colony forming units. These are basically the amount of bacteria you're getting in that pill. And you want to have at least 1 billion. But beyond that, don't get too hung up on, 20 is much better than 10. That's not necessarily true, but you want at least 1 billion. And then in terms of which strains are you looking for, lactobacillus is one family of bacteria that we know is very good for immunity.
All right, now, someone wants to prefer their probiotics from their food, which is possible, because after all, there's bacteria in lots of foods. What do you suggest? Best sources?
Yeah, I love getting probiotics through food, and some great sources. Yogurt, of course, but make sure it says with live and active cultures. That means you are going to get probiotics in there. But another one that people don't often think about, tempeh. That's a great source of probiotics. And then we have kombucha, which is very popular right now, and a lot of different health claims associated with this. This one I'm a little bit more hesitant about, and there are a couple reasons. One, it often has a lot of calories and sugar. But also through the fermentation process to make kombucha, there's actually some alcohol produced. And depending on who's making it, if you're doing it at home perhaps, that alcohol level can get up there. So this is one I might keep more in moderation. The other two, definitely love.
You make kombucha that has very low alcohol, but they have to get the alcohol out of it.
Yes, exactly.
I agree. All right, I put my probiotic in my kit.
Wonderful.
Dr. Ross, thank you very much as always.
Thank you.
Let's get to the next item. We're going to turn to my good friend, Chief Wellness Officer at the Cleveland Clinic, co-author of What to Eat When. Dr. Michael Roizen is joining me. He's really good at putting people to sleep. You know why? Because he's an anesthesiologist. Most people don't realize this, as well as an internist. Why is sleep so important to our immunity?
Well, during sleep, your immune system revs up. When you get that 6.5 to 8 hours of sleep, your polys and other cells and your, if you will, all of your cells start producing cytokines, and they bounce and kill the bacteria and viruses, and they get them. And then when you want to clean up, the resolvins are produced during sleep. So it's all getting that good 6.5 to 8 hours of sleep when you produce things that help you knock out the viruses and bacteria.
All right, so we've got an item we're going to add to our kit. It's in our immunity boosting kit. We want only the most important items, and it's going to be tart cherry juice. Why does that help with sleep?
So this is my tart cherry juice, Dr. Oz, and it helps me because, in fact, it releases or helps you produce your normal melatonin in several studies. And that gets you to reset your clock so it's always at the right time to go to sleep. So tart cherry juice increases melatonin, helps you reset your clock, helps you deal with stress, and helps you, in fact, float to sleep and stay asleep.
Well, my father grew up on a tart cherry farm, as you know, in Turkey, so I'm a big fan of it. But I want to take it up a notch even more. We've asked cocktail expert TJ Collins to make us a special tart cherry mocktail. Take a look.
Hey, Dr. Oz. I have a super delicious tart cherry juice mocktail. An easy to make nightcap. Let me show you how it's done. You're going to need 1/4 cup of fresh squeezed lime juice, the same amount of tart cherry juice, 1 whole cup of fresh squeezed orange juice, 1 sprig of rosemary, club soda or seltzer. And there you go, a refreshing, antioxidant, immune-boosting mocktail.
Thank you, TJ. Okay, Dr. Roizen, I'm going to put the tart cherry juice in our kit. The next item that we need for our immunity boosting kit is zinc. And this is something, again, we've been hammering home on this. People still are not clear on. Why does zinc and how does zinc boost our immune system?
Well, I remember this by the girl who used to sit next to me in grade school. There were 2 seats next to one another, and her name was Polly. And what Polly did is always clean up. What zinc does is increase your polys, a form of your white cells. So it increases those white cells, which attack bacteria and gobble up viruses, and then you clean up afterwards. So zinc is really important at keeping your white cell levels high enough so that you can fight and clean up.
All right, you can get 8 milligrams of zinc as part of a multivitamin. Zinc is often sold on its own as well, in a higher dose meant to take when you're actually sick. So, or you can get it to your food. Dr. Roizen, if you want food as a source of zinc, what's your best recommendations?
Smoked oysters. So this has a nice pop-up can. So if you can't get the oysters and you don't like the oysters other ways, get them in a can. They're really inexpensive and they have a lot of zinc in them to help boost your immunity, Dr. Oz.
I like the taste too. Professor Roizen, I want to put zinc in our kit. So when we come back, it's an immunity boosting soup to keep you warm all winter long. You're going to love this. Some of the biggest names in medicine have been revealing the essential ingredients to our ultimate immunity boosting kit to get you through the winter. Now, the next item is one of my personal favorites, Brazil nuts. They contain something called selenium, which plays an important role in reducing inflammation. It's responsible for activating our immune cells. And you know what? You don't need a ton of them. You can probably get 5. I counted them out here. 5 Brazil nuts to reach the recommended daily amount of selenium. It's about 400 micrograms. I'm going to put all 5 of these into my kit. I love them so much. I'm gonna add a couple extras anyway. All right, next up, we challenged Chef Nikki to create a flu-fighting soup that not only incorporates some of the biggest immunity-boosting powerhouse foods, but also tastes so delicious you'd never know it was good for you. I've got my kit.
I know. I'm going to put some soup in there.
They're poured in.
Yeah.
We'll find a way.
We'll find a way.
What is this that makes soup so important for people who don't feel well?
You know, I think it's a mix of nostalgia and science. There is just something about a warm bowl of soup, you know, cuddled up on the couch. It makes you feel better. But of course, that warm soup can soothe a nice, you know, sore throat. The steam can open up your sinuses. And when it's packed with this many veggies, it really can be nature's medicine.
So what are the secret ingredients you've put into your flu-fighting soup?
All
Nikki
right.
Special.
Yes, this is a Nikki Special for sure because it is veggie-fied. I'm doing a souped-up broccoli cheddar soup. See what I did there? Souped up.
I'm with you.
Yeah, okay.
She'll be here all week, by the way. Try
Done.
the corned beef.
So by souped up, I mean that I am adding in things like carrots and zucchini along with a whole head of broccoli, which contains tons of vitamin C, great for immunity. And I'm putting all of that into a deliciously creamy, rich soup.
All right, so let's go through the details here. I'll help in the little way I can by eating it at the end.
Yes, well, that's the most important part. But to start, I do need to put some carrots and zucchini and onion and garlic in a pan. And I want these extra soft, so you can almost smush it with the back of your spoon.
Mm-hmm.
Then you're going to add in some chicken stock or veggie stock, whatever you prefer. And then this is actually going to get blended up and turn into this guy.
This thick?
Yes. So what we're doing is we're kind of creating, you know, a more veggie-fied, flavorful, and nutritious base to a, you know, kind of traditional broccoli cheddar soup. So once that gets pureed up in your blender, you have this. And then you can stir if you like. You're just going to do a little bit of a roux and thicken up some milk. And then you're going to add in that pureed veggie mixture. Oh, don't get me messy. I got a great jumper on today. So then along with that, I've got a head of broccoli. And then our seasonings, some mustard. I've got a little garlic and paprika.
Smells so good already.
Smells so good, right? And then all you're doing is letting this cook for a minute to let that broccoli get tender. If it gets too thick, add a splash of water. And then we're going to add in some cheese because, you know.
Of course, because it's
cheese
you.
always makes me feel better. I've got some cheddar and some parm. And if you want to finish with a little bit of pepper and salt, just keep stirring, let that broccoli get tender. And this is something that will make you feel good just because it's delicious. But truly with that broccoli, those carrots, that zucchini, I mean, it's so jam-packed with all the good stuff. It smells so good.
It's aromatherapy.
Yes.
All right, this is what it looks like when we're done.
Yes, that's what it looks like.
I don't know if you can all appreciate the texture is good.
The texture is good. Those vegetables really do puree beautifully. It is silky and creamy. It's got that broccoli in there and the cheese, you know. It's so good, right?
I feel healthy
you
already.
You feel good, right?
My cold is gone.
No cold is getting you.
I'm going to pour this in my kit. I'll probably eat it first. You can find this recipe and lots more in Chef Nikki's book, More Veggies, Please. There she is in green. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on new videos to live the good life.